you can avoid them if you alter your speed suddenly. Outlaw turret, fires the missile. Strafe, boost. And it turns out they actually will fire at themselves accidentally. And boost. And there you go. Hey, what's up, dudes? Kublik here. Welcome to EverSpace. Today we are going to be focusing on dogfighting tips and tricks for this particular run. So now here's a particularly good little bit of a combat thing. You can see little exclamation marks that just popped up over the heads of the opponents. That's them basically realizing that we're here. Now, you're gonna recognize a couple of the basic things first, which are the general, like, alright, sometimes we'll do missiles, whatnot. You'll see me leading the opponent. The first thing that you're looking for is you're looking for that little red circle that is leading in front of the scout. We're very out of energy for the moment, so we're making a relaxing break as we begin our fire. There we go. Not bad. Now, a quick explanation of what went on there. I made sure that as we were fighting our opponents, that I always continued to move. Staying still and firing from afar is always a very easy way to get hurt, because they don't have to lead their shots in order to shoot you. You do, however, if they're moving around you. And also, just sitting there and firing face to face at something is immediate death for anyone who has anything over the just single fighting opponent. So the moment that you have two, movement becomes very important. Now, we have energy available here, and so I want to take advantage of that by speeding up behind our opponent, because you need to speed up, otherwise they're able to get a good full turn around you and kind of create this figure 8 kind of attack. You want to avoid the figure 8 kind of attack. You want to make sure that you get it nice and close so that they are having you on their 6 as much as possible. You don't want them facing 12 o'clock on you. It's a pain, and it's problematic. Now, see, this moment right there is that figure 8 I was referring to. We're gonna get a missile off on that one just to get that guy over with quickly. Never be afraid to use missiles. Yes, they are a resource that are, finite, but they're not too hard to create, and they can really save on the more expensive thing, which is repairing your hull. And being able to get in close, do a couple shots in, keeping your shield up, it definitely fits a little bit better, because just the nanobots are harder to find, versus missiles are relatively easy to make. In fact, you can see here that to make some more missiles, all we really need is some ore and scrap, which we have 44 and 62 of, so I can immediately make some missiles back. Not a problem, not something to be worried about. Versus my hull, we do have nanobots for this, but it's the entire nanobots that we have available to us to heal that little bit of hull. Definitely makes more sense to be launching those missiles off. Alright, we got a couple more outlaw scouts coming in this way. Now, let's take for an example, let's say that I couldn't fight these guys. So I'm gonna grab these little bits of energy and credits real quick, and we're gonna head over to these yellow dudes. Now, I'm sure you guys have picked up that a lot of these guys can be very helpful in helping in a fight kind of thing, because it will just lower the numbers of people focusing on you. I always will use these guys if I'm ever in a position where I feel like I can't run very well. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I was just getting a good look at you. You're very pretty. Taking a break from the actual, advice little part of this. God, I just love looking at this game. It is such a beautiful, fun experience of being in this three-dimensional space for fighting. And we're gonna quickly move on to a little bit of other sort of tactics and fighting styles that will use some 3D cover. Alright, so the 3D cover is basically something that this game was based off of, were general, typical, normal first-person shooters. Let me give you a bit of an example for that. So let's get close to these outlaw scouts, and instead of doing the typical just trying to boost around them, let's take cover behind some of these rocks. So you get close enough to the rocks, all of a sudden they now have to get around them in order to be able to shoot you. Your shield's down, good chance to recharge. Got 2 opponents, immediately takes you to 1, because you're able to dance around the rock. Now, you want to make sure you use this in a very similar way to how you would in a first-person shooter, by constantly moving and constantly maintaining as closeness as you can to this stone. The closer you get to it, the less that they're able to get a line on you, because the faster you're able to get a good swing around. Now, I just got hit by a missile, however, which just sucks balls. I saw the little indicator. Now, that's one of the disadvantages of just not firing, which is what we're playing around with right now. Let's start firing back, shall we? quick gun change. Now, also third person can really help for this. If you're having you're finding yourself bumping into the rock a little bit. Plus it gives you a little bit more like sight on where to get around. You know, so the AI sometimes will do this. They will bump straight into a rock. And it's particularly useful because it will remove their shields and make them your target pretty easily. We're about to die from this, which you saw why. We had our incredibly long amount of time where we just weren't even using any of our weapons. But it's good to use because, as you can see, they start losing their ability to fire back because you're able to just get right underneath them. We have a significantly more amount of running into rock capability, significantly more maneuverability than our other opponents. Alright, so we got ourselves going through our general fighting, dogfighting. Let's go ahead and put some of this to the test on one of the earlier parts. So we got our immediate fighter. It's a bit of a drone, pretty easy to avoid their shots. We're actually just faster than them, so they hardly injure our shield in order to that. Let's go ahead and hit the comm hub. Hello, comm hub friend. Alright, so now here's an example of a very important little bit you're going to be fighting a lot, which are dudes who are going to fire these ranged sort of homing missiles at you. Now, you can avoid them if you alter your speed suddenly. Let me give you another example of that. So, get up here, turn around, outlaw turret, fires the missile, strafe, boost. And it turns out they actually will fire at themselves accidentally. And boost. And there you go. Now, these are also possible to shoot at out of the sky. I missed that particular one, but it is true. Let me back up, get a little bit more distance on this. Turns out these guys might actually blow themselves up, though. Well, that one just came from underneath. But yeah, get close enough, they keep injuring themselves. Whoop. Come on. Almost there, friend. One more missile. Blow yourself up for me. Come on. Do it for all the fans at home. Hello? Nope, that would be me again. Alright, he's taking his time. There we go. Little floating in this. Now, another thing to take into consideration, as we begin to hack this, I'll explain it, is go ahead and look at the fact that you can actually fit through a lot of these small nooks and crannies. So, one thing that does end up happening is that you'll find yourself in danger, and taking cover in something small like so will actually provide a wonderful bit of safety. Now, really only from, you know, that certain area above us in that whole circle, but you can see that there's actually someone who's trying to get us right now. But as they're trying to do it, you'll see how little they're able to get through this particular cover that we have. In fact, we can still just... Alright, so that one took a big old chunk out of our shield, but then once again they're shooting here. Let's see how much damage we can do by staying in one spot right now. You keep hearing them fire at us, but they're not really doing a good job in particularly damage. We might actually want to do missiles because although we are safe in here, more or less, so are they safe from us, more or less. Oh, that one's able to shoot at us, but I can't see from where. So of course you want to be careful not to bump into things while you do this, but luckily the game is very, very precise, right? So anytime you find yourself in a problem, you're typically, if you can see your way out, you can definitely inch out, no problem. Now I'm a controller user, so if you're going to be using a PC, you know, mouse keyboard controls, I don't really quite know how much capability you're gonna have on, the word I'm looking for is small specific micro movements, like this, where I can change the amount of speed that I'm going using a joystick, which I would argue is a lot more useful than how a lot of computers will be using, you know, WASD kind of things. So we're gonna actually take cover right here because this is gonna make it a little easier. Get some distance on them. Distance is a really good way to force your opponents to have to close in order to get to you. Closing is closing the distance, and then it forces them to kind of go in a straight line at you, giving you the opportunity to begin that sort of sway around thing. Now we're gonna go ahead and employ that particular ability to just get right behind them and start to cut down their shields. There we go. Back off, boost in. You also, another thing, you can boost in like backwards and the like. Something to keep in mind. Easy to forget in the craziness of fighting. I keep switching. I really want to switch my guns based off of the Y button, which is, in this game, unfortunately, switches into third-person mode. So remember, that little red circle up top, that's where you want to be leading when you're firing at your opponent. I am out of stuff, so we're gonna just hit missiles into them. There you go. Out of stuff, so missiles for you. And one thing I'm gonna take the opportunity to talk about now in a non-combat situation is my energy. The little green bar that you've been seeing me use up very quickly. Well, that's something that whenever you get into a fight, you wanna make sure that that thing is full. If you're unlike me, which I've been burning it really quickly with shooting and with boost, it will drop very, very fast, and you always want to keep an eye on that. I have not been keeping an eye on that because I've been honestly more focused on trying to talk to you real quick and running into ore apparently. But it's an important little bit to keep in mind because although you want to be able to jump around people quickly, you don't want to keep burning out your energy. You want to make sure that you do your jump and then let go of the boost shortly after and go back to normal thrust. Because that will give you the opportunity to just surprise your opponent's AI. And we have missiles coming at us now. And apparently what appears to be some pretty long-range fighters. So this is going to be an interesting bit. But now you can watch my energy drop, and then unfortunately the Gatling will use the energy too. Anytime you have your opponent get close like they just did there, that's the figure 8 thing that I talk about. Now I'm gonna pull us just around the rock. By just around I mean straight into. Back down. I keep landing straight on the rock again. Hold on, let's take this opportunity to give us a little bit of a heal, shall we? You get a missile. You get a second missile, make this easy on me. We're gonna hang out right here for the moment because even though we're staying in one place, if you remember that little bit that I told you about the rock, this makes it a lot harder for us to be shot because they struggle to get around the rock typically. See, as they have to make a pass and then they're not able to turn back. Ow. Alright, our shield has not quite come back yet. We still keep getting little hits. But if we're able to hit them with a couple missiles, that'll do just fine.
Warships, depart immediately.
Uh-oh. Oh, okay. Time to leave, everyone. I do not have any advice on how to fight a warship. But they're not letting us escape for some reason. Oh, good, we fired at it. I'm sure that'll be good. Well, shit. Alright, I'm planning on making this particular part of the run a little bit less educational, a little bit more let's play. Simply because of the idea of like, let's talk about some of the badass mechanics that they managed to fit into this game for a moment, shall we? So this game feels way more like a Call of Duty shooter to me. And I mentioned that in the case of with the cover, that definitely feels to be the case. But just right now as we're firing this way, there's, ooh, wow, head on. That's not what I meant to do. You're gonna missile real quick. Switching back to Gatling. Now, you've never fought an opponent in Call of Duty like this, where you know, weave in and out of the sky, trying to get around onto their 6, boosting quickly, just to keep that little red circle in front of them, which is actually another bit of advice. You want to have that little teeny red circle as visible as possible, because that means that you're able to lead on them. If you don't see it, that means they've got you on their 6. Or excuse me, on your 6 kind of thing. This guy was actually able to get his shield back. Oh, we're low on ammo, that's why. Alright, missile for you. Second missile. There we go. Let's get that power cell. God. So the mechanics of being able to move around back and forth this way really add a very quick fire on the trigger style of play. Now that kind of flying that we were doing is really unsafe to do once we're hitting some of these like in asteroid environments, but it's something that I definitely recommend still doing in these asteroid environments because the AI struggles to keep up in these kind of things. Oh, they see all of us. There we go. Let's get a little closer to these rocks now, shall we? Demonstrate that a little bit more. Here's a perfect spot. Nope, this is not a perfect spot any longer. Turns out that this is a bit of the Kessler run? Isn't that what Luke Skywalker has to do in Star Wars all the time? He's like, it's just like the Kessler run back home. That kind of thing. God, I can't remember what that phrase was. Anyway, we got an Oakler missile turret right here, and a couple more outlaw missile people showing up. This might be a good chance to take out some of these ones in a nice little cheap way that allows us to just take advantage of the rocks that we have around us. Alright, my rocky friends. Popping over. Oh, oh, we have our new friends. New friends. Popping back. Alright, see as we take the cover, it forces them to come out over by these rocks. Stay close and weave in between and out of them, because you have a stronger ship than they do. And so they will actually struggle to fly through some of these tighter cracks, and it will force some of them to crash into things. And it's very satisfying to have an opponent kill themselves. Just, especially in a game like this, where it's like there's no experience and no real benefit for killing yourself. Yep, there you go, just blew himself up. So it's really about using as much as you can to make it efficient for you. Alright, slip it through. Yeah, we're getting bumped around a little bit, but that's okay. Oh, God. Whoopsie-doos. I forgot about the missiles up here. Back down this way. Another advantage of using boost is that you can once again use it as you're going left and right, up and down, and flipping that. So we got some fuel waiting for us. Some more nanobots, which we're definitely going to want to take advantage of. I still want that comm hub. I don't see where any of our other opponents are. It's possible they blew them all up on the rocks themselves, which is absolutely a normal thing to occur. So keep that in mind. Get close to these rocks. They're unlikely to be able to survive it. Plus, if there's other environmental terrors out here, specifically something like those missiles that we've been seeing fired at us. Whoop! Alright, hear that beeping? That's the time to start using that little trick I told you. Last second dodge. Get that boost in. Alright, we're gonna go back down. Yep. I keep pressing down as my backup, not the right button to press. Let's get nice and close. Now this is another advantage. These missile turrets, you get close enough to them, they can't fire at you. I mean, you gotta get to the right spot where you can hit them too. There you go. But that explosion will hit you a little bit, keeping that in mind too. Whoop. Alright, I see my friend on the right. Hello, friend. Peek up. Back down. Alright, we could probably maintain this for as long as our shields do. Yep, shields did just fine. Scooting over. Now, this is another thing that I've not ever seen in any, space sim, flying game, whatever, really. Which is this little hovering thing that I'm doing right here. We were talking about the cover. But the thing is this game takes a lot of advantage of just coming around carefully, floating over stuff. Subroutine Devastator. Increases your weapon damage while lowering your available energy. Nah, we'll salvage that. Hello, hacking. So anyway, definitely take advantage of the ability to just stop quickly. Because you can just let go, and you'll actually naturally slow down. And your brakes, which will happen even faster, so I can even stop on more of a dime. Really useful too. So you might also argue on is it better to be in first person or third? This one's entirely a preference because each one of the, probably switching back and forth is what would be best. Because in this case, I know that I can make it under here because I'm trusting. But now I can actually see for sure I can make it. That's an important little bit. Also, I have a bigger, focus of view kind of thing, FOV. That's not actually what that stands for, but basically that. I have more focus and ability to see, bigger focal point. What was that? Hey, space! Gatling. No, we already got that. And I used a scanning probe. So anyway, dudes, I hope that was a helpful little bit of dogfighting for you and a little bit just, hey, fun in the end. If you have any builds idea for this, let me know down below. And of course, thank you so much for watching. It was a joy to have you here. May the ground rise to meet your feet. Wind always be at your back and the sun shine warmly on your sexy, sexy face. Dudes, see you later. Bye.